One bullet. 3 men dead. I watched it happen, and I still don't know how it's possible. January 1944. We're pinned down on a ridgeline, rain hammering the mud, and across the ravine, a Japanese patrol, 8, maybe 9 men, moving through the bamboo. The sergeant waits, doesn't breathe, then fires. 1 shot. The lead man drops. The man behind him jerks backward. A third man, 50 yards deeper, collapses. I looked at him. He looked at me. They line up if you wait long enough. By April, the Japanese stopped coming. This is his story. My name doesn't matter much now. I was 19 years old, fresh out of Georgia, and I'd been assigned to the 3rd Marine Division as a scout sniper's assistant. Spotter, they called it, though mostly I just carried extra ammunition, kept the maps from getting soaked, and tried not to get us both killed. The island was Bougainville, part of the Solomon Chain, a volcanic rock covered in jungle so thick you could lose an entire platoon 5 feet from where you were standing. Most folks remember D-Day, maybe the Bulge if they paid attention in school. Nobody remembers Bougainville, but we were there, and for 100 days I watched one man turn that jungle into a graveyard. The sniper I was paired with was Sergeant E.J. Calloway, service number 465-3288. He was from North Carolina, a tobacco farmer before the war. Quiet in that way some countrymen are, not shy, just selective with words. Had been in since Guadalcanal, seen things I couldn't imagine yet. Wiry build, maybe 5'9", hands that never seemed to stop moving unless he was behind that rifle. Then they went still as stone. We landed in early January. The smell hit you first. Rot and sulfur mixed together like the whole island was decomposing from the inside out. The heat was a wet blanket you couldn't pull off. And the sounds, God, the sounds. Distant artillery, insects loud as machinery, and underneath it all, this feeling that something was watching you. Always watching. Our job was simple on paper. Hold the ridgeline overlooking the river valley the Japanese used for resupply. Disrupt their movements. Keep them from reinforcing their artillery positions on the high ground. If those guns got operational, our beachhead would have been shredded. There were 20 of us. 2 sniper teams, a handful of riflemen, a radio operator who looked about 16. We dug in along a ridge that gave us sight lines across maybe half a mile of jungle canopy and that narrow valley where the river cut through. First night, no contact, just the jungle and your imagination running wild with every snapping branch, every bird call that might not be a bird. Calloway set up his rifle, Springfield 03 with an inertial scope, the kind that could reach out and touch someone at 800 yards if you knew what you were doing. And he knew. That first night, before it got full dark, he did something I'd never seen before. He sat cross-legged at the edge of our foxhole, rifle across his lap, and he just breathed. Slow, deliberate, in through the nose, out through the mouth, each breath a little slower than the last. After maybe 10 minutes, I couldn't hear him breathing at all. His chest barely moved. I thought maybe he'd fallen asleep sitting up. Then he opened his eyes, looked right at me and said, "You don't shoot between heartbeats. You shoot between thoughts." I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. The first 10 days were mostly waiting. We took turns on watch, ate cold rations that tasted like cardboard mixed with salt, tried to stay dry when it rained, which was most of the time. The other Marines in our unit thought Calloway was strange. They'd try to talk to him during meals, make jokes, ask about home. He'd answer if you asked him a direct question, but he never volunteered anything, never laughed, just ate his food, cleaned his rifle, and did that breathing thing every morning before dawn. I started noticing the routine. Same spot every morning, same position, sitting perfectly still for 20, sometimes 30 minutes. His breathing would slow down until I literally couldn't hear it anymore, even sitting 3 feet away. And the whole time, he'd be staring out at the jungle like he was memorizing every tree, every shadow, every place a man might hide. By day 12, rumors were spreading. Japanese patrols had been crossing that valley regular as clockwork since we'd arrived. Supply runs, reconnaissance, troop movements, but now they were starting to avoid our sector. Nobody knew why. Command thought maybe they'd shifted routes. The other Marines figured we'd gotten lucky. Calloway knew different. Day 12, right at dusk, when the light goes gray and shapes start bleeding together, a Japanese patrol crossed the valley. 8 men, moving in a loose column, rifles slung, talking to each other like they thought they were safe. Calloway tapped my shoulder, signaled me to stay low. I got the binoculars up, called out the range, 420 yards, moving right to left, moderate wind from the east. He settled in behind his rifle, set his cheek against the stock, and then he did that thing with his breathing. I watched his back, watched his shoulders drop, watched him go absolutely still. 30 seconds passed, 45. I started to wonder if something was wrong, if maybe he'd changed his mind. I was about to whisper something when, crack! The sound of that Springfield was like a lightning strike in church. The lead man in the patrol dropped like someone cut his strings. But here's the thing I couldn't figure out. The exact same second, the man behind him jerked backward, stumbled, went down, and 50 yards deeper in the trees, in a spot I could barely see, even with the binoculars, a third man just collapsed into the undergrowth. One shot. The remaining Japanese scattered like startled birds. Calloway was already packing up, sliding the bolt back, ejecting the brass, moving us to a secondary position 30 yards down the ridge. We relocated, dug in, waited. No return fire, no mortars, nothing. That night, I could hear Japanese voices in the distance, shouting, confused, scared maybe. I asked him, how? He didn't answer for a long time, just sat there in the dark, cleaning his rifle by feel. Finally, he said, they line up if you wait long enough. You just gotta be patient and invisible. Invisible? Yeah. He paused. You ever heard of a Navajo tracker named John Benally? I hadn't. Met him in Arizona 41 before I shipped out. I was hunting deer, got lost in some BLM land, and this old man found me. Brought me back to his truck, gave me water. I asked him how he'd found me when I hadn't seen or heard him coming. He said, there's an old way of moving, old way of breathing makes you part of the land. You slow down till your body enters a state between waking and sleeping. Your heartbeat drops. Muscle tremors stop. You stop being a man and you become just another shape in the landscape. Predators do it. Hunters do it. He taught me for 3 days. Does it work? Calloway looked at me in the dark. You saw it work. Over the next few weeks, he started teaching me. We'd sit together in the pre-dawn dark, and he'd walk me through it. Breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4, out for 6, hold for 2. Then slower still. You focus on one point, a tree, a rock, anything, and you let everything else fall away. Your body temperature drops. Your awareness sharpens even as your physical presence diminishes. I could never hold it longer than 15, maybe 20 seconds before I'd gasp, need air, break the trance. That's why you're the spotter, kid, he said, and I swear I almost saw him smile. By day 30, Callaway had 23 confirmed kills. I kept count in a little notebook, wrote down the date, time, range, conditions. He never asked me to do it. I just did. Somebody needed to remember. The pattern was always the same. Dawn or dusk, he'd set up in a new position, never the same spot twice, and he'd do the breathing trick. Sometimes he'd wait an hour, sometimes 3. He only fired when the target was alone or separated from the group by at least 30 yards. I asked him why once. "Because," he said, cleaning the bolt of his rifle, "the others need to run back and tell the story. Fear kills more men than bullets ever will." He was right. By day 40, Japanese patrols in our sector had gotten smaller, more cautious. They moved faster, looked over their shoulders more, but they kept coming. Orders, I guess. Or maybe they didn't have a choice. Day 47, we captured a wounded Japanese soldier. Took him back to command for interrogation. Our interpreter, a Nisei kid from California named Takahashi, asked him about troop movements, supply routes, the usual questions. But when the prisoner realized what part of the island he'd been captured in, his eyes went wide. He refused to talk. Kept saying the same phrase over and over. Takahashi translated, "Kase no Oni," wind demon. Later that week, we found carvings in trees near an abandoned Japanese camp. Crude symbols, warnings. The Japanese had started marking our territory like you'd mark a plague house. They called him the Wind Demon. And then they sent someone to kill him. Day 58. Callaway spotted movement, different from the usual patrols. Deliberate, professional, someone who knew what they were doing. "Counter-sniper," he whispered. "They sent someone for me." For 3 days, it was a waiting game. We moved positions every 6 hours, didn't fire, barely slept. I was terrified. Every shadow looked like death. Every sound was a rifle being aimed at the back of my head. Callaway was calm, calmer than I'd ever seen him. Day 61, just after dawn, he set up on a rocky outcrop with good sight lines and limited approaches, and then he did the breathing trick. 2 hours. 2 full hours without moving. I was scanning the tree line with the binoculars, sector by sector, looking for anything out of place. A glint of metal, a shape that didn't belong, an odd shadow, nothing. Then, there, 400 yards out, tucked into a nook where 3 trees grew together. A glint, just a flash, barely visible. "I see him," Callaway whispered. "He's good, real good." Another hour passed. The Japanese sniper was doing the same thing Callaway was doing, waiting for movement, for a breath, for any sign of life. I checked Callaway's pulse once. 40 beats per minute. His eyes were open but unfocused, like he was looking at something 1,000 miles away. The Japanese sniper made a mistake. Small one. He shifted his position slightly, maybe thought Callaway had withdrawn, maybe his leg cramped. Just a tiny movement, a quarter-inch adjustment. Callaway fired. I didn't even see him move. 1 second, he was still as a corpse. The next, the rifle kicked, and 400 yards away, the enemy sniper fell from his perch, tumbled through branches, hit the ground. We didn't go check the body. Too dangerous. But after that day, the Japanese stopped sending patrols entirely. That night, Callaway's hands were shaking. First time I'd ever seen it. He didn't eat, didn't clean his rifle, just sat there staring at his palms like they were covered in something only he could see. Finally, he said, "I think he knew. Right before I fired, I think he felt me there." The last 40 days were different. The Japanese had abandoned the valley, but Callaway kept hunting. Stragglers, isolated machine gun nests, Scouts who wandered too far from their units. I stopped counting after 200. He didn't. The other Marines started calling him the Ghost. He hated it. Told him to shut up, leave him alone. I noticed he was losing weight, sleeping maybe 2-3 hours a night. He'd stare at his hands a lot. Wouldn't look people in the eye. Day 98, we got orders to pull back. The offensive was over, island secured, time to rotate out. Calloway insisted on one more patrol. Just one more sweep, he said. We found a Japanese soldier sitting at the base of a tree. Couldn't have been older than 16, emaciated, rifle rusted shut from the humidity. Kid was just sitting there crying, trying to figure out how to surrender without getting shot. Calloway raised his rifle. I grabbed his arm. Don't. He looked at me. His eyes were empty, flat. Why not? That's the job. Because the job's over, I said. He stood there for what felt like an hour, rifle aimed at that kid's chest. Then he lowered it. We walked the boy back to camp. Calloway didn't speak for 2 days after that. Final count? 512 confirmed kills in 100 days. It's documented somewhere in unit records, though I heard later those files got classified, buried under about 6 layers of paperwork nobody wanted to touch. Calloway received a Navy Cross. They held the ceremony in a tent, no press, no photographs, and the citation was so vague it could have been for anything. He was rotated stateside in June of '44, never deployed again. I lost track of him after the war. Tried to find him once, maybe 47 or 48, sent a letter to an address in North Carolina I got from another Marine. Never heard back. Someone told me he went back to farming, never talked about Bougainville, never talked about the war at all. I hope that's true. I hope he found some kind of peace. The island was considered secured, but Japanese holdouts kept fighting until the war ended. Our ridge, that valley, all the places Calloway hunted, it's all jungle again now. No memorials, no markers. The Corps didn't want the story out. Too much like assassination, not enough like honorable combat. Calloway's kill count was never publicly confirmed. The breathing trick was never officially taught. It got passed from sniper to sniper maybe, whispered in training, forgotten by most. I got out in '46, went home to Georgia, worked at a lumber mill, got married, had 3 kids. Normal life. But I still think about him, about Calloway, about that ridge line and the way the jungle sounded right before he fired, silent, like the whole world was holding its breath with him. People ask me sometimes what the war was like. I usually just say hot and leave it at that. But the truth is, I don't know what it was like. I know what I saw. I know what I helped happen. 512 men. Most of them never saw it coming. Some of them were soldiers. Some of them were just kids with rifles, same as me, sent to die in a jungle that didn't care who won. I don't feel proud of it. I don't feel ashamed either. I just feel tired. Like I left part of myself on that ridge, and it's still there, breathing slow, waiting for something that's never going to come. Calloway taught me something, though, not on purpose, but I learned it anyway. He taught me that you can train a man to be invisible. You can teach him to stop his heart, slow his breath, disappear into the landscape, but you can't teach him how to come back. Not really. Once you've been the wind, once you've been the thing that kills without being seen, there's no trick for becoming human again. I hope he found peace. I hope he's sitting on a porch somewhere in Carolina, growing tobacco, watching the sunset, breathing normal. But I don't think he is. I think he's still out there in some jungle that only exists in his head, holding his breath, waiting for the shot. And maybe that's what we all are now, those of us who made it back. Just ghosts, pretending to be alive, waiting for permission to finally exhale.